Welcome to Granted, your podcast for self help tips and opportunities to partner with subject specialists. Today, we have a distinguished Harvard graduate, Dr. Dan Berman, with over 3 decades of experience, celebrated for demystifying college admissions. You know, guys, at Granted, we understand the immense focus on STEM education in India and across the globe, a priority echoed by National Education Policy 2020, vision for integrated and future ready learning. Navigating global higher education, especially for competitive STEM programs. It is crucial for our students' success. Dr. Dan is here to identify pathways, sharing invaluable strategies for standing out in the competitive application landscape. So I hope you've got your pen and paper ready to take notes from Dr. Berman. Hello, Dr. Dan. How are you?
Oh, yes, very well. Privileged to be with you.
Straight to our first question to you. Dr. Dan, tell us what is the true essence of college personal statement and why is it so important?
All right. Not just college, but also for graduate and professional school. Intellectual autobiography is a self-written account from your life experience that describes and demonstrates the evolution of your thinking over time. In most cases, that's what a personal statement or main essay is supposed to be: intellectual autobiography. This is critical because a static essay showing no evolution cannot be nearly as compelling as one that is dynamic.
You so eloquently mentioned that it is the journey that you have to document, but with the success rate of so few people getting through, what are the three main mistakes applicants make when they are writing their essays?
Number one, not developing an outline or framework before writing. Number two, related to that, writing out the actual statement or essay before you are really ready to write. Number three, beginning with the trite anecdote, which most people think is necessary, but actually isn't. There's more, but those are the basics.
So, students, I hope you are taking notes because I am certainly taking notes. Outline is important, as Dr. Dan mentioned. You must write down what you are thinking and also how to approach writing this, whether you are using an anecdote or not using an anecdote. Okay, Dr. Dan, to our next question for our students, tell us what critical mistakes do students from traditional cultures like India typically make in an essay content? Are there any special tips for us?
Yes. So the one big mistake is trying to make themselves sound perfect, assiduously avoiding mention of past or present flaws on their part. And this has often come up in my work with international students, including students from India. The problem with that approach is that, as we all know, no one is really perfect. If you try to come across as perfect, you don't sound genuine, which affects your credibility in all regards to the detriment of your application.
The reason we are approaching higher education is to address the gap areas, the areas that we want to learn about, the challenges that we have not overcome. And by identifying these critical challenge areas in our essays, can really bring out our inner personalities. Students, I hope you are listening to this. So, off to our next question, Dr. Dan. What is the test for top 5% application essay?
So, one of the two I've come up with, I call the dinner table test. By that, I mean, at the end of the day, each committee member or reader will come home for a meal together with others around the dinner table, at which time they'll be asked, "Did you read anything really interesting today?" Your objective as the applicant is to be the essay that is mentioned by the reader around the dinner table.
In corporate language, sometimes, Dr. Dan, we call it an elevator pitch, but by narrating it as a dinner table test, wow, what a fantastic setup. I can really imagine a hearty conversation over a meal. Wow, what a fantastic way of identifying how to test our application essay. Moving on to our next question. Dr. Dan, what can an applicant do if they can't think of a good essay idea?
So this is something that often comes up, but in my experience, there's almost always an excellent concept for any applicant. It just has to be brought to the surface. Brainstorming with an expert can help the applicant uncover the kind of concept that meets the dinner table test that I just described. As an example, I've developed lists of specific questions that serve to bring out the best ideas, often to the surprise of the applicant.
So, students, to identify these ideas, you can always reach out to professionals like Dr. Dan. His email is in the description below to go through this iterative process. Dr. Dan could guide you on how to approach this process. Dr. Dan, to our next question from our students, why can using model essays found online do more harm than good?
Yes. So the first point to recognize that there is no evidence that these essays have actually accomplished what they are purported to have accomplished. In other words, admission to a highly competitive program. All we have is the assertion of the writer or publisher that they did. That is why, to an expert eye, most of these so-called exemplary essays are actually not very good. And if you try to model yours on them, you'll be disadvantaging yourself.
It will be plain as water. All those essays which are inspired by looking at samples and not genuine, authentic in this world of AI would seem similar and stand out for those assessing. Thank you so much for giving us this idea of this pitfall that we must avoid and be honest and genuine. Okay, to our next question, Dr. Dan, what is the unwritten rule about extracurricular activities and why is it important?
Yes. So top schools are interested in students who have the greatest potential to contribute to society by making the world a better place. So many applicants with excellent grades and test scores, in addition to impressive extracurriculars, are weak in terms of community service and social justice type activities. But without those, in a competitive context, you're likely to lose out for the reason I just mentioned.
Students, for those of you who are just getting into this race of becoming a researcher, a student, a professional, and looking for international studies, you must understand societies where these academic institutions exist, and America is a giving society, and that's how most of its academic institutions are also designed, from Harvard to Yale, Princeton, Ivy League colleges or other institutions and universities. All of them are giving institutions, both in academic spirit and otherwise also, and they want to take in students who have similar attributes. Thank you, Dr. Dan, for highlighting these very critical, nuanced personality traits of academic institutions. Tell us, is packaging or theming necessary for competitive US college applications, and why?
Yes, it is true that an applicant's positioning is critically important to the outcome of the application. Positioning is not a gimmick. It's a way of tying various parts of the applicant's profile together, making sense of the disparate strands. It enables the admissions committee members to better understand the applicant and how they would contribute to the school.
Absolutely. Dr. Dan, to our next question, can school representatives, those you mentioned who will be assessing this, provide misleading guidance? And if so, how?
So, to take an example from one of the largest application platforms in the United States, that of the University of California, known as the UC system, carefully watching the video posted there on the page where you have the essay prompts, I counted no less than 5 false or misleading statements. The narrator says, for example, all you need to do is use your own voice and proofread your work. But it's a gross oversimplification and quite misleading to suggest that this is all the applicant needs to do to maximize their chances of admission. It's simply not true.
Absolutely. There are many attributes, and friends, those of you who are watching this podcast, I would urge you, encourage you to get in touch with professionals who have seen the system and learn these nuances, because you may have multiple attempts in getting into the universities, but it will be ideal if you study and prepare yourself in advance while approaching these institutions. Always remember, best foot forward. All right, to the next question, Dr. Dan, and this will be the last one in our race today. Uh, we live in a phygital world, a world where we physically exist but have a digital discourse. Are there any practical reasons to avoid using AI for application essays?
Yes. So, as tempting as it may be, the main reason not to do that is that to an experienced reader, an AI written essay is quite easy to spot. You don't need special software to do it. That's because all AI written essays look basically the same to a trained reader. They come across as hollow, wooden, and painfully generic. AI is currently good for 2 things in this area. First, generating content points that deserve consideration. And second, proofreading. Even there, you have to be careful because AI can miss things or get things wrong.
Certainly, friends, remember, you are individuals, and if your applications do not reflect your individuality or your individual flair, neither AI nor the admission committee can help. But insights from Dr. Dan Berman will help you review these points again And we thank you, Dr. Berman, for being part of Granted podcast today. We have unpacked crucial strategies for crafting standout college applications. We've identified pitfalls and opportunities, from mastering the personal statement to avoiding common problems like using standard essays or artificial intelligence while crafting our essays. The value of extracurricular and ethical use of processes. We are very thankful to you, Dr. Berman, for sparing your time and discussing these aspects, your wisdom with our listeners to navigate these complex admission pathways. To our listeners, remember to apply these invaluable insights as you continue to your higher education journey. Stay tuned with Granted. Share this video with your partners and peers. For next episode, leave us a comment. Thank you.